Good morning. Okay. What do we got outside? Haziness. Well, a couple of 3 hours ago, we did get a bit of a sunrise, but when I was trying to turn it into a time lapse, I was having a problem for some reason. One of my files that I downloaded off of the PVR from the surveillance system, my computer didn't want to read it. I don't know if I'll try again later, or maybe just throw a snapshot in just to show you that back around 6 o'clock this morning we did have a sunrise. Anyway, yeah, not a whole lot to say here. I did come back to the model table yesterday afternoon and evening. I kind of worked a little bit on these supports or ended up rather with these supports here that have to go underneath right here. But what I want to do today is, it must be about 4 months ago, somebody was suggesting that I get this clear blue, and I'm pretty sure that the reason they wanted me to get the clear blue is because they said it makes for a good lens, like for a spotlight or something like that. And yesterday when we did the microcrystal clear, somebody came back and said, why don't you use that as a lens? So I'm going to do a bit of an experiment. Now, the spotlights that are in there right now, I don't think they were spotlights. I think Jeff suggested that possibly it was a signal light. Now, if it was a signal light, the louvers would be closed, and you wouldn't see the lens. So making that shiny sort of doesn't really work out. But and I couldn't find any drawings of it in Carlo's book, but there's other reference places I can look, I guess, to see if those were actually signal lamps. I'm pretty sure they were signal lamps, not searchlights. The searchlights are bigger, and maybe we'll try this microcrystal clear on the front of those and just see what happens when it dries. If worst comes to worst, I can always paint over it. I think what will happen, though, is that this stuff, it does not evaporate as much as the Tamiya XF paints. So it's going to it's not going to shrink around the detail, in other words, on the front of the lens. Well, rather than doing a lot of flapping my gums here, why don't we just experiment with it? Because I really don't know how it's going to go. But I do want to try that today. And why don't we roll back to see how it is that we got to this place here. At the end of the last episode, we cut these pieces off of the sprue. And, okay, these two are mirror image to each other. And they somehow have to be fastened in with this piece that looks like a T. I think it'll be pretty obvious once we get at it. But before I cut the very end off of the where the sprue connects there, I was just wondering, am I supposed to be leaving a bit of a peg that is supposed to possibly go down into the deck? Now, I've already sort of looked at it and concluded that no, we don't. Okay, now this is going to fit right in here. Just like that. Okay, it's locked into place. And this larger one, okay, it mounts on the back right there. Like that. And then these legs come down to support it, but they don't go into any holes that are there. There are holes there, but I believe they're for things like mushroom vents. They don't really line up with this little box. Yeah, so I think that we are safe to cut off the sprue right flush with the end of what appears to be the legs. I realize you're a long ways back. Maybe I'll slip on the macro lens so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to try and use my awl here as a pointer. And what I thought I was seeing is, like, you can see where it comes down, and we're going to have to cut it off. But I thought I was seeing right about halfway right here where there was a bit of a change, and I thought that possibly we were supposed to leave just a little tiny peg on the bottom of this part that I'm touching right now. Like a half a millimeter long or something. But clearly we have to take off, this entire piece of flashing. Now, I had originally thought that the time to paint these little parts is right now, but I'm realizing that what's going to happen is I'm going to be putting these in place, and we're going to be getting glue glinting through that I'm going to have to touch up anyway, like around on the top there. And I want to try and do all my touch-ups with this module with the number 66 at the same time. So my thinking now is, we've got a little edge right here. I wonder, are we supposed to put a railing on that? It only makes sense that there is. I'll have to check ahead, I guess. Okay, so yeah, I think we'll glue these into place now, and I wonder if I could use the instead of using the Revell Contacta, if I could maybe use the extra thin there. I think it'll dissolve everything, and being as I'm going to be painting over it anyway, it won't matter if we get a little bit of wicking into the paint on the superstructure here. At least that's my thinking right now. Okay, let's sort of recompose here a little bit, and I'll try and think of how I'm going to go about this. I mean, how hard is it to glue this piece on this piece, right? Now, I'm sure most of you have heard the saying, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back to life again. So right now I'm experiencing satisfaction. I paged way ahead to step 39, trying to figure out why there was no railing around this little platform right here. And as it turns out, there is. It's connected to a ladder, and the whole piece goes right here. And I hope you can see this, but here are these legs that we just cut a little while ago. And it appears that they just go straight down flush onto the deck. It's not showing any little holes or anything on the deck. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on here. I'm wasting time. Okay, here's the latest plan. You can see how this one's supposed to go and lock in on that channel right there. And this one is supposed to lock in on this one. But I'm noticing that when we get this one locked in, that this one here comes right down and sits on the roof of the lower one. So I think what we're going to do is get them what I consider to be about as good as I can possibly get them. And then we'll just tilt this whole thing just a little bit here, and we'll let gravity be our friend here, if we can. Okay, let's make sure that this is okay. Get this back, and then when I say let gravity be our friend, so that the extra thin will flow into the crack. Now I do realize that it's going to make a mess of our paint job, but it's going to dissolve that paint, or plastic rather, and it should make a fairly
a fairly good bond. Now just touch it just lightly here. Want to make sure that this is, grab it on somewhere where I can push like that. And this one here, make sure it's all the way down. And then in a minute I'll turn it around and tilt it the other way. And once again we'll let the CA just, or the extra thin rather, wick its way into the crack. Actually, that's not making as big a mess as I thought it would. Okay, that should be good. Now, maybe from your angle you can't see it, but there's a hole here and a hole here where those legs are supposed to fasten into. We'll do that a little later. Okay, now, from these three pieces here, we have to shape something that looks like this, that has to go underneath here. No. Okay, you may not be able to see it, but there's a little notch in this corner, which I believe has to fit, that this piece here, the end of this piece has to fit into. So this would go like this, and then be glued on the bottom. It almost wants to stay there, but I'm wondering, would it be better to have this thing upside down, or maybe at a 45-degree angle, so that it would bind in several different ways at the same time? Or no, I guess upside down would be the best. It has to go like this. I can see this is going to be lots of fun. Now the only other option is, how would it fit? What would the fit be like if we were to take this? Now careful how I pick it up here. These two pieces of superstructure that we glued on, they should be fairly strong now, because it's about 2 hours or more since I glued them on. So if I put this on here and get it sort of locked in place where it's supposed to go, once again being careful where I squeeze. Okay, that's it. Now, what kind of clearance have we got going on here? Okay, this one here is grooved right there, so it would have to go underneath. You know, it might be better to put these in place after this piece is glued onto the deck. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a fairly tight fit. So you could probably get it in and sort of wedge it underneath, and then it would more or less stay there, and then a person could put a little bit of glue on the bottom of these legs where they touch the deck. At least that's my thinking right now. But you know, it's 1 minute after 8 right now in the evening, and I think I'm going to call it quits for this evening. So we'll see you in the morning.
Well, it is morning. And as I mentioned, I went through the book here, and I tried to find some drawings of what I believe are the signal lights. Now, this is as close as we're going to get to the signal lights. There are no drawings in this book of the signal lights themselves. There's the what I believe is a searchlight. It's depicted here, and it's depicted right here. and I can find them on this sheet right here, but it doesn't really show the signal lights. So now the signal lights, there are 6 of them already mounted on here, and there's the real obvious ones here, and then you can see a couple down in here, and the same on the other side. So there's 6 of them, but those are signal lamps. I'm almost positive. I'm beating this to death, aren't I? So I'm not going to color the front of those because it just wouldn't be real. Now I know if I wanted it real, I wouldn't have painted them the XF56, right? Okay, this is the only literature I've got on the Rodney. Surprisingly, you would have thought that by now I'd have got something like the anatomy of the ships on the Rodney, if there is one. I know there's a good one on the Iowa, and I'm planning to get it. Okay, so yeah, and this fold out, even if it showed it, there's no legend that tells you what you're looking at. So okay, let's stop beating this to death here. Let's get our signal lamps out. Where are they? Okay. So there's one. So what we can do is we can do one with the and I have to be careful how I pick these up, because if I remember right, there's some delicate photo etch on the sides. It makes like for a little crank. Okay, yeah, we'll do one with the blue and one with the microcrystal clear. And if we don't like it, we'll just paint it over. I mean, can't hurt. Or maybe, I wonder if it'd be a good idea to do the blue and then put the crystal clear on top of it. Okay, you can see the delicate photo etch that I was talking about. I didn't want to grab hold of these like this and bend it. But I think if we take these and if we lay them, you might say, on their back, like this. And that way we can take our blue and our crystal clear and let it sort of pool in the lens so that there's a bit of depth to it. Now the crystal clear is probably going to take 2 or 3 hours to dry, whereas I notice, or rather the clear blue. But I was noticing when we were using the crystal clear, it seemed to dry fairly quickly. Anyway, we'll just try, like I say, we'll try them both, and then we'll wait, and we might have to wait until tomorrow to see which we like the best. On the other hand, see, the problem is, I've gone and sprayed the dark 56. I'm wondering if I should have, or should now take a light gray or a silver or something, and because even if we put the blue on there, it is sort of translucent in that you're going to sort of see through it, and when you see through it, you're going to see this dark color, and that's I'm thinking now. I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, and just I should have made my decision before, right? Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the inside. Well, not necessarily silver, but maybe a light gray. Okay, I'm noticing on these that there is no definition, like there's no grill work or anything like that. And what I've got is I've opened up my XF19, which is the lightest gray I've got. And I'm going to just sort of try and pool it right in that center area there. Try not to get it up over the edge. Well, yeah, I know you definitely would not want me painting the eyes of your 1/48 scale figurines, would you? Yeah. Okay, we'll let that dry, and I do believe that this is probably going to look better when it's got some sort of clear over top of it. It shouldn't take too long to dry. Now, once again, just for perspective. Okay, now, according to our manual, these things go here, and they face forward. Now, I don't think it would be really important which way they face, because they are on a swivel base. But I think probably from a profile standpoint, it would be best if they faced, at the same plane as the keel of the ship, so that when you're looking at the ship in the case, you would see the gun sort of like this, not like this. You know what I mean? Okay, see what we can do. Recompose here. Okay, let's just sort of do a dry run here. Try and pick this up. Probably from maybe like this. Yeah, that should be safe. Okay, now, I haven't tried this pin in this hole yet, so I don't know if it's going to fit or not. Yeah, that's going to fit. Ah, have to do it again. Very carefully. Sorry to get my fingers in your way there. All right, I'll squeeze a little harder this time. Okay, that's facing pretty much forward. It's maybe 5 degrees to the left, but that's all right. That'll be all right. Somehow, to my way of thinking, if it's dead forward, it doesn't look natural, but that looks pretty good. All right, now the other side. Just reposition here. And this one we are grabbing differently. Okay, how are our searchlights coming here? It's a little bit soft yet. I'm afraid that we're not going to be able to drop down our crystal clear or the clear blue today. I wasn't bargaining on when I first started this episode and said I was going to do it today. I wasn't thinking about repainting the front of that, but this is still too soft. In fact, it looks like I've scratched it there. I might have to just retouch that up, and we'll leave this overnight. I'm going to cut today's episode off right now. Thanks for watching, everybody. And all being well, we'll see you tomorrow.